This is normal in Vietnam. This is also normal in Vietnam. Drinking beer in public on a sidewalk? Completely normal. Hello, I'm Han, a 32-year-old living in Vietnam. Let me show you things that are totally normal in Vietnam, but could be illegal where you're from. It is very common to see people using motorbikes to carry many large and bulky items. And this has become a normal part of everyday life, even if it sometimes looks surprising, because people simply make use of whatever transport they have. In other parts of the world, this is much less common because transport rules are stricter and people usually rely on cars, vans, or delivery services for large items. It is not always ideal, but it also shows how practical and resourceful Vietnamese people are. Instead of needing a big vehicle, they use what they have. In certain emergency situations, a scooter can become a 3- or 4-seater vehicle. One thing you may notice in Vietnam is the number of motorbikes. They are the most common way to get around, so it's normal to see long rows of parked bikes along the sidewalks. It's a scene you can find almost everywhere, especially in busy parts of the city. One thing that often stands out in Vietnam is the way sidewalks are used. In many places, they are not only for pedestrians, but also become spaces where street vendors temporarily sell their goods. Although this practice is not always officially permitted, it remains a familiar sight in many cities. One reason is Vietnam's motorbike culture. Since motorbikes are the main form of transportation, people don't need to look for a parking lot or spend time finding a parking space. They can simply pull over to the side of the road, buy what they need in just a minute or two, and continue their journey almost immediately. Because shopping is so quick and convenient, even a small section of sidewalk can become a busy place for business. This is one of the reasons sidewalk vendors continue to be such a common part of everyday life. For many visitors from Western countries, where people are more likely to travel by car and sidewalks are mainly reserved for pedestrians, this is often a striking difference. Vietnam's sidewalks can be chaotic and sometimes hard to walk on, but they are also where the soul of the country lives. In Vietnam, urban planning rules are not very strict when it comes to separating where people live and where they do business, so the use of space tends to be quite flexible in everyday life. Residential houses are often not limited to living purposes only, and people often use whatever space they have to earn money. So in real life, it is not strange to see one part of a house used for living, while another part is used for work or business. In Vietnam, drinking together is a very common social activity, and it is normal to see groups of people sitting outside, eating, drinking, and talking in a relaxed and informal way, especially in the evening after work. In some countries, this would feel strange or even illegal. In the United States, from what I've heard, open container rules can make drinking alcohol in public illegal, depending on the state. People sitting on small plastic chairs, eating around simple, foldable tables right on the sidewalk. The best meals are not always inside beautiful restaurants. Sometimes they are on a tiny plastic chair. It is also very common to see sidewalk haircuts as a simple way for people to make a living, where a barber may not necessarily go through formal training or have official certification. And as long as there is a small space on the sidewalk, a basic chair, a mirror, and a set of tools, they can set up a small spot and start working. The price is usually quite cheap, often starting from around $3 per haircut. This creates a very flexible and practical way of earning income, where services are brought directly into street life and customers can easily stop by without needing a formal salon. For local pharmacies, you can walk in and buy certain things that would be restricted elsewhere, even like some sleeping pills or asthma inhalers. Pharmacists in Vietnam plays an important role in people's lives because they're the first person to talk to before most Vietnamese decide to go to the hospitals, especially for older generations. For many families, going to a hospital used to feel time-consuming and stressful. You walk in, describe your symptoms, and the pharmacist recommends medicine right away. This is rush hour in Vietnam. To outsiders, it can look chaotic, but it also shows how busy and alive Vietnamese cities are. When the roads are completely packed, motorbikes start looking for every possible space to move. The sidewalk is supposed to be for walking, but during rush hour, the line between road and sidewalk can become blurry. This is one of the realities of urban Vietnam. Rush hour is not just traffic, it is a daily rhythm of the city. It is crowded, noisy, sometimes frustrating, but also very local. In Vietnam, smoking in public is still quite common, and often happens in a relaxed way in many everyday outdoor spaces, without too much attention to strict rules. In many Western countries, smoking is more restricted, with clearer regulations about where it is allowed, so it is usually limited to designated areas. Hotels are not only used for travel or overnight stays, but are also often seen as flexible private spaces where people can have more privacy for different personal situations. I decided to randomly book a hotel room for 1 hour just to see what it was like, and when I arrived and stepped inside, I immediately felt that the space was more spacious and quiet than I expected. In Vietnam, many young adults still live with their families, sometimes with several generations in one house, so privacy can be limited. That is one reason why these short-stay hotels exist. The large bed is placed right in the center and giving a strong feeling of rest and privacy. The bathroom setup also felt unusual because the bathtub was not hidden away but placed right inside the room, making everything feel more open and modern. The price for these hotels can go from $5 to $50, depending on the amenities and locations. I walked through one of the older apartment neighborhoods and quickly noticed something that is quite common in many old buildings in Vietnam. Most of them were built many decades ago, so they had deteriorated significantly and did not have elevators. And I could not find ramps or other facilities for people with disabilities either. I could only imagine how difficult it must be for elderly residents to climb several flights of stairs every day, or for someone using a wheelchair to get in and out of the building. Many older apartment buildings in Vietnam were built at a time when these features were not given much attention. From the outside, it still looks like an old apartment block, but inside, many rooms have become cafes, small restaurants, fashion shops. Old buildings do not always disappear. Sometimes they are reused in a very Vietnamese way. What used to be someone's apartment can become a place where visitors come to drink coffee, eat, take photos, and experience a different side of the city. Stationery stores are not only for students. Many of them feel more like small lifestyle shops. They are not just selling school supplies, they are selling small, affordable happiness. Today, I came across a convenience store that was a little different from the ones I had visited before. As soon as I walked in, the first thing that caught my attention was a long shelf filled with instant noodles in every color imaginable. There were so many different brands and flavors that it almost felt impossible to choose. The imported noodles stood out the most, with some packs starting at around $1.4, while many local Vietnamese noodles just have a starting cost at around 25 cents. Right next to the noodle shelf was another section full of toppings like packaged eggs, quail eggs, seaweed, and many other choices that people could add to their meal. They also have these pre-packaged instant noodles combo for the convenience. This is an automatic instant noodle cooking machine in Vietnam. If you love instant noodles, this kind of machine is actually a fun little experience. You choose a pack of noodles, add toppings like sausage, seaweed, then place everything into the machine and wait a few minutes. What makes it interesting is how it turns a simple pack of instant noodles into a hot, quick, affordable meal. In Vietnam, convenience stores are no longer just places to buy snacks and drinks. They are slowly becoming small food stops for students, office workers, who want something fast, cheap, and fun to eat. This is my version of splurging. Not an expensive steak dinner, but a pack of imported instant noodles. When you see all these imported flavors, it suddenly feels like a small luxury. It is still affordable, but it feels like you are treating yourself. Sometimes, happiness is not about spending a lot of money. Sometimes, it is just a hot bowl of noodles, extra toppings. The food is heating up. I just need to wait for a few minutes. Did you know Vietnam is one of the top instant noodles consumers in the world? I may have contributed to that data. The food is ready. Let's put in the special toppings. Seaweed, pig ears, and chicken feet. That is what makes it fun. You are not just eating instant noodles. You are building your own bowl. It feels casual, but also comforting. I've been cutting down on high-sodium food recently, but sometimes a pack of noodles just remind me of where I'm from. It's strange something so simple can make me so happy. Maybe it's something I couldn't have when life was hard. A pack of imported noodles with toppings may sound simple to most people, but back then, it was choosing the cheapest option that I could survive on. Life in Vietnam is not perfect. The streets can be noisy, the traffic can be chaotic, and things do not always work in the most organized way. But somehow, daily life here feels free. People eat on the sidewalk, drink beer with friends in public. A plastic chair, a small table, are enough to make the night feel complete. There is also a sense of safety in ordinary life. Vendors leave their carts on the sidewalk. Life happens in public, and people are always around. That is what makes Vietnam feel warm. The city is not hidden behind walls. It spills out onto the street. But to many people who live here, that messiness feels alive. It feels human. Vietnam is a place where happiness does not always need to be expensive. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.